start here. So I presume Kelly's made it in. There she goes. Thumbs up. So the TransactionDesk is coming. SkySlope, not Sky. Zip Forms is going away. So I'm glad you're all getting a jump start on it. Frankly, I think it's just as easy or easier once you get used to it. I kind of had jumped in and done a couple classes, so we were sitting around at the Monday morning meeting. I said, we really need to start a class on this. And of course, you know what happens when you're in a committee and you suggest something.
You're it.
So, here we are. I'm no expert. I'm just a couple of weeks ahead of each of you, just to try to give you an idea of where to start and how to move forward. There's some training videos, but it's a little weird when you're watching it from their Canadian headquarters and the forms are different. And so it's, it's just a little wonky a little bit. So we're going to try to record this so people can watch this. Starting to be I went to a CE class, and it's funny because at the beginning of it, he did a little quiz of where do you feel you are technology-wise, and it was like, don't know anything, I'm okay, and then, yeah, I could probably teach this better than the instructor, and like 2 of us in there checked that box on his quiz, and at the end of the day, I decided that, yeah, I probably could, so here I am. So, he had a nice structure and some information, but it was not the main instructor, and he was kind of, and the system, in all fairness, was having a bad day too, so I knew that going there because I was trying to do a transaction before I went, and they were like almost down. So TransactionDesk is been around. I found out that they've got like 500,000 agents on it between Canada and North and US. So it's new to us. It's not a new system. So there may be some bugs in setting it up to fit what Arizona wanted. I don't know whether that will be the case going forward, but it's not. It was crashing that day a week and a half ago, and I thought, is this the way it's going to be? It was apparently just an anomaly, and I thought it was because it was brand new. Somebody created it, and they didn't have all the bugs out. Well, they better have the bugs out. I'm not sure why it was crashing that day, but hopefully it's more stable than it was that day. That was the only glitch I've had, and so you're going to get to it from Armless initially. You're also going to need a single sign-on from Arizona. Take a little thing to get just that. So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to attach this sheet to save some note-taking. How to get to the single sign-on at AAR. So this 6-page. Six pages printed out, but it's really doesn't look that long here. I'm going to attach this to a document in my mastermind. So as I referred to this, don't feel like you need to write each of those steps down. So I wanted to, has anyone not done a single sign-on with Arizona Association yet? They were sending out emails and saying, do this, and
yeah, I'm not sure what you're doing.
So if you go to Arizona Association of Realtors, and you go to Business Tools, Single Sign-On, they'll show you a little bit about what it looks like, instructions to complete enrollment, frequently asked questions, and log into the dashboard here. So I've done it, and one of the things they're going to need right up front from you is your NERDS number, National Association. I'm not sure why we put what vowels we put in that NRDS. There's no vowels, so somehow we call it NERDS instead of NARDS, or I don't know. So if you don't know that number from your National Association number, does everyone know their NARDS number? NERDS number? Yeah. So if you come in, everyone knows how to sign into Armless, right? You've all been in there, so you know that sign in. If you sign in and you click on your initials up here, go to My Profile, your National Association number is right there. Right at the top. So you'll need that when you're setting up your single sign-on at Arizona Association. Go to Arizona Association, go to instructions for completing enrollment. I'm not going to go through that because I'm already enrolled, so it's not going to allow me to do that, but point you in the right direction and you can get that handled. So that's job 1 today. Then, once you're in Flex, and you click on the menu, I've added it here. I'm gonna go to menu. So you see all the things that have a star on it here? If you didn't know, you can add things to your menu. So all of these across the top that I have here, and the more button, these are all the ones that have a star when I click menu. So things that you use regularly, you can put a star. If you find you're not using something, you can eliminate the star, and it just keep your kind of top bar ready to go, so I don't have to go into the menu each time. So TransactionDesk I can get to from the menu under products. I put a star on it, so I also can get to it from here. So I don't have to, that's just kind of half a step saved. First place it stops is my single sign-on. Once I've got that in there, it just logs right in. Okay, I wrote an outline for myself. We'll see if I do any good going through it here. So the first thing is, they've got these icons, which over time that'll probably be enough. Can you see them? Am I in your way? Oh, it's on the curled part of the paper. Even better. So I'll do this once so you can see it. See these icons along the side? So if you come to these little three green bars at the top, it'll tell you what they're about. So it just gives you the ability to display a little more screen by hiding those. But first few times through, it probably makes sense to see them because the little pictures won't make as much sense to you. I think the best place to start is in setup. You should all start here and start with the so I ran through that here. Click on the green bars. So start with your preferences. Again, I'll attach this. Make sure your profile is correct and up to date. Let's see if I can make this bigger for you too. This is. Make sure your profile is correct and up to date. Add an email signature. You can add your photos and logo. So we're going to go to preferences, user information. Some of this, obviously, you can't change. Your license numbers coming through. Office information, the office that you're registered at. There's no editing happening here. If that's wrong, then you need to get with your association that you signed up to and figure out why that's the local association, like Scottsville Association or Severar, because they upload that to the Arizona Association. So email signature, I went with simple, name, where I'm at, phone number. You could put I think you can put a picture in there, I'm not sure. I tend to not like the busy emails, the nice PDFs, because I find when I read that email on my phone, I can't even read the phone number in those. Sorry, if someone convinced you, like my good friends across the Activated Agent, that it looks pretty, they stink on mobile. Those big, nice, pretty with your picture PDF email signatures, they're horrible on mobile. And what do people read most of their email on? Mobile. I'm not sure where yet it's going to show up, but you'll want to go in and probably get your fax back cover sheet up to date, because you may need that. So I don't know. I'm sorry. That was the editorial comment. Company logo. We'll do that. So you're going to click on the logo, and I've got way too many files, but I think I know where to find a logo. Logos. And not that. Where's my home group?
Is that under branding?
I'm sorry?
Okay, branding?
Yeah. Under branding. I'm just putting, just to show you, you click on it, upload. Maybe I'll use just the mine. We'll see how that looks. And I'm not sure, a lot of places that's really going to show on the documents, because you're doing real documents and they're not throwing logos on it. But it's good to have. And your login, you can change that here if you wanted to change your password. But the reality is the single sign-on is the overriding, so I don't know that you really want to change that there. Okay, next is order settings. You've got several other settings you can take care of in here. The document settings is just font size. I don't know if there's really a reason to do that. Checklist settings, I haven't seen a reason you'd want to change. There's a number of things you can change, and maybe as you get in, you'll want to personalize some stuff. Again, with the fax settings, you can purchase your own fax number. Task settings, again, I haven't run into, I want to send my default link to allow editing of forms rather than sending as, to send as an attachment with a link. You can also do it just to send as a link. But I like check sending as attachment. I think that'll be a little more useful. Authenticide print driver allows you to print any form from an application in your PC by clicking print and section. I use print to PDF. The print to PDF in the Mac, I'm really used to that, so I'm not likely to use this, but if you don't have a real good way to print something to a PDF, if you maybe got a response to an offer and it comes in a PDF and you want to get it back in the system, maybe you might use this Authenticide print driver. Essentially, it's just going to drop it into Authenticide if you print any document. I think some of these tools, it's been around longer than I suspected, so that things like the fax, the urgency of faxes, it's probably been around that long, and they just haven't kind of pulled back. I thought this is brand new, and they put a fax print cover sheet as one of their primary things, but it's been around. So DocBox print driver, they have a cloud storage system called DocBox. You can store anything you want. It's pretty unlimited. I think it is unlimited. You can store pictures, and if you needed more storage capacity, it's kind of free storage. The downside is if you ever decided that you were no longer going to be a realtor, all that's gone. So I don't see, again, I'd rather control my long-term cloud storage. So I'm not really planning on using that. It's there, they kind of wanted to show it to you. Markup settings is default, so when you type into a form, I don't know that, it seems to be of the right size when I look at the form, so I don't see a reason to change that. If you had, I don't know, again, just trying to show you what can be done, not necessarily what needs to be done. So, link devices. I did not yet put connected on my mobile device, so we can experiment together. So I went to the App Store, added TransactionDesk. So when you open it on mobile, first thing it's going to ask for is an activation code. And if you can't see the screen, you won't see this, but sorry. So the first thing it wants is an activation code. So I'm in here, I'm going to hit activation code, HD4.
But you have to download the app first, right?
You have to download the app first, yes.
Is it not available with Android?
I did not try that yet, it should be.
I read somewhere it wasn't.
How do we get the activation code?
It's supposedly coming, but it's not.
So, will you click on the activation code link on your computer?
Yeah, it has.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, it only says App Store there.
But you have to, yeah.
HD.
Wait a minute.
I think that's an O or an I. What's your guess?
What's that? Oh, it says
H-O-I or zero-I?
yeah, 0.
I'm gonna go with
Oh.
0. I'm gonna go with O.
Oh, that is O. That's O.
I'm gonna go with O. So I'm gonna allow, so you really can't see it, but it's got my transaction list is all right there. So it may be smaller to see on a phone, but it should work on the iPhone. I don't know.
When you say your transaction list, you've already done stuff in
I've
there?
done some deals in there already.
And so you were saying that it's going to be replacing zip forms?
Zip forms goes away, 1231. If you have anything in zip forms that you were thinking, hey, I've been helping this buyer and we've gotten declined offers, but I keep copying the offer to send the next one out, on December 31st, you're done.
You won't
So-
even have access.
You won't have any back, you wanna get anything out you
Yeah.
want, but that's why I think it makes sense to start changing over now, because then you aren't gonna be in the middle of working with a client and get left in a lurch.
Sure.
I heard zip forms is gonna be, you can pay for it after the first.
Well, that may be true. It
So
goes away as a paid option.
I use zip forms to store, I mean, well, I guess in the past, so I have stuff in SkySlope now, obviously, right? But previous to me using SkySlope, all of my transactions are saved in zip forms.
That
Just
goes
start
away unless you.
downloading it
You
all.
may be forced, for the pay option. And I'm sure as it gets close to the end, zip forms will be happy to market to all of us and let us know, hey, you can keep this if you wanna pay us $20 a month or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever, $20 or $30 a month that we all end up paying for 65 services.
Right.
So is there a support number we can call and ask about when the Droid app will be in the store?
That's a good question. The support is down here in the question mark, live support, online training.
Yeah, there's an
So
800.
you actually looked and did not see it in the Play Store? Did anyone look for it?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Which is odd because this program's been around for a while.
You can call them, I've called them a few times, they're really responsive.
Not the only thing in the world that discriminates and only does iPhone stuff, so. Interesting, but that would be where you can contact them. Let's see how quick they are.
Set up options.
Okay, I'm sorry. Not really shouting at you, I just didn't want to go.
Sure.
Shoot. See what happens when I get to play squirrel and get off on a tangent. In order for that to send, I'm gonna need to, apparently I can't type. So that's probably not gonna go back out, we're not gonna get an answer while I'm saving it, because I. That's what killed us, so I'm not playing squirrel again. Cancel. And I'm down on the Wi-Fi down here, and it's not used to it, so Google's throwing up all sorts of. Okay, I'm gonna get back on track here. So once more, you'll see where to sign in, because I got. And we were down here in the gears, and the gears are where you're gonna find all your setup information. So templates then is the next thing. So actually, and I started, so if you wanted to do, you hit add, and if you want to do the listing, template, and you want to do residential listing. So let's say it was successful.
Where did you go? I'm sorry.
So I'm creating a new template, transaction template.
You went to transaction.
So I'm under the gears,
Mhm.
transaction template. So now I have two, listing template and purchase.
And you create those by clicking on the ad?
Click on the add button right here. Okay. You can change the order of things, maybe more useful in document section where you've got 5 or 6 documents and you want the purchase contract at the top. Filter for different things if you're in a longer list or something. But templates, you're probably only gonna have a few. You might do, maybe you might wanna do a rental template or some other template, but you're only gonna probably set up a couple of templates. So we're gonna look at, doing a purchase standard template. And we're gonna come over here. Actually, we're gonna click on it. So there's 2 different things you're gonna find, documents and forms. Forms are gonna be the forms that you'll find in your Armless and Arizona Association libraries, just like you did in zip forms. Documents will be forms that aren't in there and you maybe want to put it in your standard, you can put it in here. So I added residential pool safety. So we're gonna add a document, another document here. I'm gonna go to my binder and under forms should have okay, so there's another one, obviously pre-78, but you might use once in a while. Lead in your home, the blue, infamous blue folder. So you need to provide that to someone if you're doing the lead-based paint disclosure. So you'll see I now have both of those in my template. So they'll be handy for me to click on if I have one of those situations or both in a house. If it has a pool or if it's pre-78, that'll be in my template and I can click and add it in once I'm setting up a deal. So forms. So you're gonna hit the plus button. You'll see the libraries, just like you're used to seeing. I'm also a member in Payson, so you won't see that unless you're subscribed there as well. But if you had Flagstaff or some other board, that's where you're going to see that. So we're going to click here, and going down the list, where do we want to start? What's in every deal? You're going to make me scroll down. I wanted to go in order. So, residential purchase contract, we definitely want that. You're representing the buyer, so you're probably not picking the spuds up here. You're going to want the ones signed by the seller.
Buyer advisory.
I'm sorry?
Buyer advisory.
Buyer advisory?
Buyer broker.
You guys think I typed fast?
Exclusive employment.
So I'm probably not going to put the lead-based disclosure in my standard because that's like a 5% of the deals I get involved with. If you happen to be working in a part of town where it's a 50%, you may want to put it in your template and take it out of the ones you don't need it. So I'm just going to go from the top down and catch them as we go. So buyer advisory, we got
Buyer broker agreement.
what's that, Jim?
A buyer broker exclusive employment agreement.
Obviously, if you're dealing with a My Home group, then I'm probably not going to put that in my standard. I'm going to go add it in because it's easy to add them on a deal. So I'm not going to put it in my template. And not that one. HOA probably should come from the seller, but how many people actually have it uploaded as a document to download on our list? Not enough. So I'm not going to put that in, but you could. Again, it's easy to add each time. Market condition we wanted. I feel like I'm missing the agency, and then we're going to probably step out of this. So here's our list that's in our basket. Really small, probably to read. I'll do this for. So purchase contract, buyer advisory, buyer broker, market conditions, real estate agency, disclosure, any other huge voids we're thinking?
Oh, water fraud.
Yep, good idea in today's world. So you can also use the search button here, rather than use the scroll. Same as zip forms, same kind of functionality to get through that library. So we've added that, so I now have 6 forms, because that's, I think, we actually had someone here at My Home Group burned a couple months ago, so it's definitely something you need to let everybody know early and often. So I'm going to add those. So, I had buyer advisory in already as my starter sample. So I'm going to go in, show you what you might want to do. I'm not going to do it on everything, but certainly on this one I'm going to open it up. And My Home Group.
I don't think they cross-populate though, do they?
Yes, they do.
They use populate if you do them as a
Template.
template. So I'm doing it in the template, and I'm gonna use the template rather than using the forms. They'll
But when
pop-
you put a buyer's name in on a form, I don't think it cross-populates to the other.
To the other forms that you have, like, it does
In zip forms it
Zip
does.
forms it does.
I know.
so it doesn't do it in there,
I
huh?
don't think so.
Well, they're wanting you to use the wizard going in the front side and put your buyer's name in. That's
There's
kind
a
of,
wizard.
there's a kind of, when we get to an actual transaction, it's kind of a wizard walkthrough. So obviously, we wanna be able to show the buyer listed properties, and we're gonna represent the buyer. Those are the two boxes that we're gonna have in a typical buyer rep transaction, and so this is the purchase, so I'm gonna complete all of that. So really, the only thing that's gonna need is the buyer's name and the date. So if you come back up to the top and come over here to the folder, some of this auto saves, but I'm kind of a freak, at least until I get really familiar with it, and I like to hit the save button. So the folder, the save button. Who remembers what these look like? No. Anyone under 30 have a clue what this little picture is? The rest of us know, but yeah. That was the 3.5-inch floppy disk.
I don't know.
I wouldn't even know how to read that.
So here's my bars again. But, so we've saved that.
that you left too hard.
So that's how you create a transaction. Checklist, you can create, I'm going to just show you an example of checklist. So here's something you can do with checklist to keep track on a buyer. Open escrow, upload documents to, SkySlope in this case, but that DB being designated broker. Receive spuds, receive clue. Don't call it a clue, it's an insurance history report. We need to quit calling things clue because we don't use a clue anymore. Editorial license. So these are kind of the things that you can put a timeline on. And you'll see you can do them as number of days after contract, so you don't have to, if you do this as a template checklist, those dates will all set once you put contract acceptance date in. So you don't have to go figure all that out.
How did you get to this list?
So this list was created by someone else. The other class that I went to, this was the actual head of that class, sent these out afterwards, which was nice.
So they're in
So
there.
we don't get to.
No, there's nothing. When you click on the plus, it says.
Can you send
So
it to us?
here's what you're gonna do. Checklist, boom, yes, I want a purchase checklist.
Mine doesn't show any of that.
No,
So
you have
you-
to create it.
Well,
You
that's
have-
what I'm asking. So we couldn't like take a sky slope checklist. We'd have to physically create
You have to
it.
create it in your template, okay? So you've got template, execute a purchase contract, order home inspection. It says anytime, but in reality, you'd want to edit that, and if you have a buyer, you're going to want to make sure that's done right away. So anytime is not good.
Can you share those with us?
Due date.
I know, that's.
You just put them up back on the board and we can take a picture of it.
Well, I'll upload this whole Evernote thing,
Okay.
and just use caution. Make sure that it gives you a good starting place. So this is how you would do it. I'm going to do it related to a transaction date instead of none for the order inspection, and I want it to be after. I really want the inspection order probably one day after acceptance. I mean, I'm firing out that email. Here's the list right away. So if I'm doing a checklist and I'm putting order inspection on, it's going here, and I want a reminder coming up 1 hour before, just so that it doesn't fall through the cracks. So that's how you're going to create each one of these line items. Sorry. And then you're going to hit save. So order home inspection 1 day after contract. So what's the next thing that you do? Document, receive.
Earnest money.
Receive earnest money receipt, we'll call that. And you have to go to needs to be a task in order to get to a date. And that's where God bless you. You can do, again, after acceptance, and you're representing the buyer, you're the one actually probably getting the earnest money there, so that may be a checklist you want, the next day you want to be sure and get that there. So, to some degree, this is a starting place, but you may want more or less items on your checklist, but this gives you an idea of what, somewhere to start. 2 days after acceptance date, and I probably want some kind of reminder, and a week later isn't going to make much difference, so I'm going to say that. Okay, so we're going to rapidly run out of time, so I'm going to move out of, the first time I grossly said, yeah, I can't talk for more than an hour on this, but I could, obviously. We have questions. Just want to get everyone comfortable in going through, thinking about checklists. So here's earnest money. So you would just go build this list one at a time, the number of days after, we want to make sure you got the bins are done within, I would put on there 8 days or 9 days, so that's screaming at you, before you get to your 10th day. And it's used by templates purchase standards. So that checklist is used by a purchase. Obviously, then you could build the same checklist, which again comes out for listing. It has things like put the signing up, put a listing in the MLS, send spuds to buyer's agents, include the buyer's agent. Again, so they've got on the listing one, they've got days after the listing and days after the contract. So there's kind of 2 checklists. You list it, and then once you have a deal, there's a whole nother list. Get the spuds out, get the insurance history report out, look for the BINSR. So when you get to that side, you'll have, this one only had no date or acceptance date. There's other choices that you're going to get on the listing one. So I'm not going to do all the checklists. We're going to just kind of, I don't want to go there. So let's do a transaction. You can start at your dashboard. This is kind of where I started. This is where you'll end up starting, and you'll get some more automation as you get better at it, but you need to know how to at least do a transaction. So you're going to start with create a transaction, and I'm going to do Barney Reenroll. Is that how he spells his name? So do we want to do a template, or do we want to learn it without a template first?
Without.
Okay, so we're not going to do a template, but here's where you would pick the purchase template, and then it would load those documents in. Some of the things that you may want to do on your purchase contract on the template is put the verbiage that you're typing every time, like earnest money, additional deposit, close of escrow, and new conventional loan. And some of those type of things that you're going to type in every time, put that on your template, and then it'll come up. You want to type it every time. If you have a standard Section 8 clause that you like to put in, because you went to John Dyer's class, and so you have a clause you want to put in every time, put it in your template. You can always delete it when you're in the transaction if it doesn't apply, but then you don't have to type it 8 out of 10 times and delete it twice. So we're not doing a template. So we're going to import data from MLS, and we're going to pick a listing just for fun. I guess this would be a dual rep one if I'm doing it on my. One problem with this big mouse is it's really hard to capture.
Where did you start when you were in TransactionDesk? Like after transaction template, did you go back to like main menu?
I did. So we're going to close that. I went to create transaction. I'm surprised that didn't say that. So create transaction.
So dashboard maybe?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Oh,
dashboard.
okay, dashboard.
Dashboard.
Okay.
Okay. So dashboard, create transaction. I'm surprised Barney didn't. I guess because I hadn't hit create yet. Barney Rebel, no templates. We do want to import the arm list data. And I captured an MLS number. Add me as, I guess I'm going to end up as both. because and then use the wizard. So I would recommend you use the wizard. It's gonna then walk you through the steps. So we're gonna walk through one here. New transaction created. I've got 5 pages to do. Transaction type, residential purchase, status open. It brought in my listing information. So that's all completed. Subdivision, MLS number. So all that gets completed by bringing it connected to the MLS. So we're gonna hit next. So I'm not sure because I gotta make this smaller. I can't see enough on one page. Sorry. I'll zoom in if we find something. So list date. So maybe weird because I used my own listing. I should have picked some other MLS number. But we're gonna say we got a deal accepted today. No, we're not. We're making an offer today because that's what we're doing first. Offer date. So we're making an offer today, and it's going to expire tomorrow. So I think some of these dates maybe show on all of them, like list date, which you may not necessarily know. I mean, it's not going to force you to go back and do the math, but it may populate that because you brought up MLS. It may go back to that original list date. You know, MLS will let you know when it was listed. It just you just don't know when it expires. So we're going to hit next. And you can here identify your people. So I'm going to be the listing agent and the buyer's agent, listing and buyer's broker. So that clearly a dual representation, and it's showing no forms. That's because we did not use a template. So this is our opportunity to go in and just create this deal. So we're going to again go to Association of Realtors. We're going to go pick our forms. Oh, did I click on the wrong one? Yeah, missed it. Scroll. That's really weird. That's part of my zooming problem here. There we go. Didn't like being zoomed out that much. Buyer advisory. I think we missed that in our template, so you may want to go, include that in your template. I'm sorry? I did what twice?
I think you had it in your template twice.
Oh, that was the one. Oh, I didn't have it. Thank you. Applause. What was that? Update market conditions we want. I'm not going to worry about having it 100%. You all get the idea. We're trying to just, again, watching me type is not learning. So if you do it this way, you're going to come in and you're going to have to,
So your name?
my name's in there because I selected myself as agent.
Click on. Oh, that's the only reason it populated.
That's the reason that populated, not because it was a template. So if I had the template, it would have my 2 boxes here.
So how did you get to the form? And then, so you closed that out and then it popped up, or?
So after I did my add forms, then here are my forms. And then you go to the purchase contract, so it's now the same way you would complete your contract. So I don't like that. So Jane Doe's gonna buy and John Doe. That's right, we were doing Barney Rubble. What's Barney's wife?
Betty.
Betty.
Wilma's wrestling. So I've seen some people try to do this and put like Ann, Betty, but it's 2 boxes, so. And the seller, I think if you go to one of John's contract classes, he's always going to suggest you do this. because it may show something on the tax records, and maybe they think it's in a trust, yes.
It looks like you can only put 2 buyers there.
I'm sorry?
It looks like you can only put 2 buyers there.
You have to put exhibit A, if you need more.
If there's any more buyers.
Yeah, you have to put C exhibit A and put the buyer's list on there. There's not really a provision to put multiple. So
You
you're gonna have to
could just
do
write it
second
into
ones and
the
exhibit
additional
A.
terms.
I'm sorry?
You could just write it into the additional terms.
Under section 8?
Under section 8, additional buyers to
Yeah.
be. You're gonna have a problem probably getting signing locations.
Yeah.
Would, yeah, but you can always.
I mean, it's, zip forms had some limitations on that. This is probably even a little more locked down than zip forms was. Cause I don't know why they don't understand. Hey, in Canada, they don't let more than 2 people buy? What's up? Ask me my Canadian history here. So if you create a template, yes.
What if it's an LLC?
Again, you're gonna type the LLC name here.
See, but, one person has to sign, so how am I gonna, like, have them, that one person
So-
representing the LLC?
So the LLC name goes here, and then it's in the signature block where you put John Doe Managing Partner in the signature block, not here.
Okay.
So with 15 minutes left, we're gonna kind of blow through this so you can at least see the authentic sign. Obviously, you're gonna go through and complete this as it will. So I've completed this contract, I'm ready to sign. So I'm on that one form. But it will give me an opportunity to add other forms. Participants, I'm gonna send it to myself, that I need to, see, I can't put another address under Barney. Well, maybe I can. I'll add Barney. And you see it's got a red X, so you find out, okay, I can't move forward until Barney has an email address. And it's smart enough to know that Barney needs a real email address. And for some reason, that's really old. Holy cow, Toledo. And Keller Williams, good lord. That goes way back.
Where did you get all of your information from?
My computer.
God.
Mind you, I didn't even own this computer when I was at Keller Williams, so Lord knows how all that stays in your data. Right? That was like long ago. I mean, you know, I was a solutions after Keller Williams, so. So the signing pin populated with, so if you could have a signing pin where someone needed to know that. I've never done that. I mean, if they get the email, they get the email. So we're gonna say that just to show a signature. Oh, if you have a name down here, this is where you're gonna fit. The custom signature is gonna be John Doe Managing Partner. And, you know, his custom initials could be JDMP or something, right? But so if that populates from Barney and you see it knew Craig from here, so I don't know how I can keep Barney Rebel. I mean, I'm trying to fake it, so if I take Barney's name out, it's not gonna need that. If I have anything in there, then I have to finish that. Custom invitation, if you wanted a different invite to each person, you could do something different there. Documents. We have the purchase contract, but clearly we need more than that. So we're gonna go to Barney Rebels forms and documents. We need the buyer advisory, we need additional clause, which we didn't complete, market conditions, agency, we have the purchase contract. So we're gonna add all those. If you had received or downloaded from the internet the HOA because the other agent was a quality agent, learned from my home group and did it right, you're gonna click add and you're going to probably upload a file because you will have received that form and you will have downloaded that, saved it from the document section. So you'll know where it is here, you can upload it here. So that's where you bring in other forms that need to be signed, is right here by upload a file. Okay. The design is where you're gonna go drop in your initials. 29-page document takes a minute. Okay, so I assigned only one person. I only assigned cause I didn't wanna come up with another email, I just put Wilma, so Barney's initialed in there, whatever Barney's wife is not, but, and as zip forms, you've got two boxes here, you've gotta go delete the one that's not accurate in the lead-based paint. Been dealing with that for years, so, if you have something that, let's say, okay, I forgot to put the check mark here in my document. I'm already in signing, I don't wanna exit, go back, add the check mark for sewer system. You can actually add a radio button. Comes in handy on counteroffers, etc. It drags and drops it, but not really well when it's off to the edge like that. So you have to figure out how to drag and drop with this giant mouse and stuff.
Can you use markup too and do a check mark?
Yeah, you could probably do that.
Good box.
So let's see, we just put an X, so that's huge if you do that.
That's a text box.
Not so well.
You sign it,
Yeah, that's it. You can still use e-sign to have everything signed, right? You don't have to go through
You could,
TransactionDesk.
you can. I think once we get through the link, the way this all links, it'll be nice once we get used to it. If you're going through something fast, and it's easy to go fall back on, take the PDF and send it out and you're done.
Right.
So you kinda have to, and e-sign, I don't know whether that goes away or not. I haven't heard. Just zip forms is all they're saying. Zip forms goes away. So the e-sign from AAR, I haven't heard anything on that. Whether that's gonna cease to become supported as a free option. So next button, I'm gonna assume it had all the right signatures in here. We're gonna send invitations. I'll get that email. So that went out.
So you created the transaction, you put signature boxes, everything all from the same app.
Yep, create a transaction. If you just have a document you need to sign, like a counteroffer, you can click here, and you can add it, you can search for the transaction. So let's say Barney's got a counteroffer coming in now, and I wanna add a document to send out to that. I simply click on Barney's name, I'm back creating another, document there. So,
Is there a
some
way
of
to
the-
multiple check documents and download them all at once to your desktop?
once it's signed,
No.
before signing, I think if you have multiple ones checked, so if you wanna use e-sign or DocuSign, create a PDF. So if you're in here, here's all the forms, we're gonna go to forms, and we wanna add them. Here's our basket, you have choices of copy, download a zip,
Print the PDF.
print, save as PDF, send via email, send via fax, or delete, so.
We'll save this PDF.
Save
Print it as a PDF.
just the way you probably did in zip forms.
Yeah, so you're gonna print it as PDF, PDF name, Barney Rebel, and
Purchase contract.
so it's gotta tell me where do I want my PDF going, or it's dropping right down here. So here's my Barney Rebel PDF. So if you do multiple, it comes out in one long form, which you could then put in e-sign and sign it. After the translation, I don't know how well e-sign is gonna find the signatures. It always seems to do a good job on the purchase contract, but not other contracts, so you gotta be careful dropping your initials in.
Okay, so then when we put it in SkySlope, we'll have to separate it.
Yeah, when other agents send me like all these
Even when I
forms,
start
it's
out
frustrating.
individual, they come
I
back
have
as
to
one when I
print them
come back.
PDF, pages 2 through 4,
Yeah.
like.
So the SkySlope has a split function, which
Can we
I,
do them separate then?
Yes.
sure, you can do them separate, but the other agents can combine them so back to one.
I saw that.
It's gonna happen that way.
If you, well,
SkySlope has a split function. If you don't know how to do that, watch my video from the first class. Cause I don't really have time to back up and do that, but you can upload the whole long thing into SkySlope and then split it and put purchase contract 1 through 10. and you just label it and hit go, and it splits them into, and puts them in your boxes. So it's a real easy way to deal with that when it comes back as one. So we've covered signing, we've covered checklist a little bit, the mobile app, how to put outside documents like the paint flyer forms. We walked through the wizard, and obviously if you start in the wizard and you do, we're going to create a transaction for Fred. Flintstone, and we're going to use the templates. We want to print templates, and we're going to import from our list. Let's see if we still have the same number. And I didn't do a lot of templating, so the templates won't have some of the things you might want to put in your purchase contract. So there's my deal. I'm going to go look at the forms real quick to show you in the agency. There's my check marks because I used the template, because I didn't go through that's my test. So by doing that, if you take a few minutes to set your template up with the phrases that you're always typing on the purchase contract, like earnest money, and it's going to be by check to title, and the things that are most of the time, then they'll show up if you use the templated form. So yes, so the signing, you do multiple signs, it's going to come out in one form when it comes back. So this one came back. Final document. There's my final document. So it's multiple forms together. So I ultimately want to take that, drop it in this guy's book, and split it out.
Okay, so teacher, now that you've been playing with this for a while, is this going to be more efficient, easier, better?
It's similarly, I think if you set I was kind of a stubborn guy. I never set up templates in zip forms. So I'm going to set the templates up because I think that'll save me. I like typing. It does a really good job of importing the MLS data right in. You can do that in zip forms also. Yeah. It's very similar usability. It's just the learning curve of being something different. But don't wait till December, because then you're going to have transactions you're in the middle of and you have to do it twice.
But since I understood instead that it's supposed to be quicker. Well, I hope so.
The only thing that's no, I don't agree with that. The only thing that's quicker is the signing function is built in and integrated. The only one that worked as integrated with zip forms, in my opinion, was DocuSign, but that's $200 a year. So eSign, you had to print a PDF, take it over there. SkySlope's SignOn thing that we do here, you can do it for $5 a month. You still have to take the PDF, put it in the SkySlope, send it out for signature. So the only complete solution was if you paid for DocuSign $200 a year or whatever it is. Then zip forms with DocuSign was probably as integrated as this is with the signing. That's my initial.
So I won't need
that's my initial
DocuSign.
thing. You will not need to renew DocuSign unless you just love it. I quit paying for it.
You never needed it.
I went to
Well,
eSign because I
I just like
didn't,
the-
I was trying to get rid of $20 a month.
Yeah,
so I used eSign.
Why pay for well,
It's
I
quicker.
never
If
understood why I paid
you're
for
doing 10 transactions a month and you're doing it without a transaction coordinator, I would pay the $20 for DocuSign because it's that much quicker doing the forms, clicks,
Yeah,
send.
it's just.
But if you're doing 1 or 2 transactions a month, is it worth the $20 for saving yourself 5 to 10 minutes on 2 transactions?
Right.
No, not my book. But so this DocuSign with zip forms is as efficient as this plus Authentisign. If you feel like you don't like Authentisign and you want to use eSign, then you're back to that same export it as a PDF and upload it.
So
Which
this
is
one's
not,
called
if once you
Authentisign?
do it enough, it's pretty darn quick. I mean, I create a document and send it as a PDF and, send
What's
it.
not good about Authentisign? Is that what it's called?
I don't know yet. It's a little
But that's
slower,
what
so
the
don't freak out when you
transactions
send a request out. eSign, I would get the request to sign like almost as quick as I hit the send button. It takes like 10 minutes to 15 minutes. So when you tell your clients you're sending them something to sign, and they call you in 5 minutes, I didn't get it yet. They need to wait. It's 10 to 15. It's not quick. And some of it, when it's going through those 29 pages, I disagree. It's not faster than zip forms.
So
It is not faster than this.
why did the
I don't know.
heads of
I don't know. I don't know why they decided, you know, it's economic, I'm sure. Zip forms charge the association X amount, and this one's came in and said, we'll do it for less, and
that's probably it.
that's probably it. So, you know, the good news is your dues probably aren't going up. So unfortunately, in an hour, we can only give you overviews, but let me go back to the first page and show you questions. They've got life support, online training, feedback, guides. So, you know, they've got some walkthrough guides if you want to kind of go through it in detail again. Working with forms. So just keep in mind, documents are something that you're bringing in outside of the Arizona Association or the armless libraries. That would be documents. Forms are going to be one of our forms from Arizona Association, or so you know, swimming pool disclosure, the lead-based paint disclosure. Those are going to be documents. You're going to bring those in. If you have any of the My Home Group documents, we don't have a long list, but occasionally, if you're going to use the OneGuard, you need the form for if you use affiliate. Thank you. So you need that. So you're going to bring that PDF in as a document. Forms is all of the standard forms. So the nice thing is it puts it all in one place. Zip forms really didn't do that because you kept your PDF forms until you put it in the e-sign place. They're kind of two places. This puts them in one place.
If you go to that support tab, the question mark,
Yeah.
and then the pre-recorded webinar videos at
Yeah.
the bottom.
Yeah.
I think there's like the third one in, fourth one in. Next one. That's all.
Oh, that's
Arizona.
not from Arizona.
It's
Okay.
Yeah, it's over
I looked
an
at the
hour
first
or
one and I'm like, this
You
one
can-
is like Canada. Sorry, Jay.
that one, that's a really good one. I mean, you can stop it, you can do it, they do everything. Well,
Okay.
not everything, but
I wasn't patient enough to do that.
it's a good one. If
I
you're
just
slow
dove
like
in.
me,
Yeah.
you can stop it and whatever.
Yeah.
Stop it and then go through it on another window or something?
Well, follow along and,
Yeah, you can start the transaction right from MLS too, I think, right?
correct. Let me show you that real quick. So when you're in here,
Yeah.
in MLS, again, so if you click on this and you hit TransactionDesk, then I don't have to type that MLS link in. It's bringing that in. It's bringing all the property information in. So I've started that, and now it's going to want to know who are my players in that. But
Where did you in MLS select that?
yeah, this
And
little
it's-
drop down.
Yep.
It's also on the very
Perfect.
right-hand corner right there under your.
Oh yeah.
Well,
There it is.
but that's,
It's all-
that takes
it's
you
been there.
right, that takes you right to TransactionDesk. This actually starts a transaction for that property. So if you're like,
Are you
my
sure?
client,
Try that.
It did, yeah. We just did.
You just did it, yeah.
there it is.
No, go back to the one on the right-hand corner.
So
He did.
That's his,
Oh.
but that's from his desk.
that's just the general sign-in.
Is it?
Yeah.
No?
Well, it did, maybe because I was in it
Yeah, because
already.
the one at
because
the
I
very
was-
top transaction desk will
Yeah,
take you
this
there,
is-
but.
So I wasn't in a property when I clicked the one on the right to start with. It took me to the single sign-on because I'm signed on. It goes right to that. So,
Okay, I blinked, so what did you?
it's okay. Someone
Go to
sees.
the other, go to the other property.
right to the MLS.
That little.
So here's the other property.
Try to, yeah.
If I come up here to transaction desk,
No, the other one.
okay, I'll show you the other one too.
See, it creates it.
And then, where do you put in the
So-
player's info?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
You know, the buyer's
Yeah.
name and all of that stuff.
Details. So this is system-wide on this side.
Yeah.
This is the transaction side over here.
Okay.
So again, same expand and contract. So it's obviously got all of the details about the property, but it's not gonna have the details about who's buying it and so forth. So you're gonna come into contacts and you're gonna have to put,
You can add your buyers.
add your buyers and, you know, by adding there. So that, and if you add them here, then they would populate on the forms when you needed them.
And some of that stuff you transport in from the MLS is still not accurate, like the office number, they'll have the license and then instead of the MHGO2, which you gotta go change. They're gonna fix that, but they haven't yet.
Yeah, I did notice that. So you have to watch that. I don't know, forms, so let's, that'd be on the purchase contract.
Right.
Purchase contract.
Residential.
Residential. I wear these glasses and I still don't help. Residential purchase
There you go.
contract. Yay! I need to sit in front of that. This is what Mike was talking about, is you come down here and there, instead of the MLS code here, it's putting the license. So you have I need to be MYHDO2 right there.
Where at it again?
So the glitch is, and I don't have two agents.
Well, no, it's down there with firm MLS, but you got it right, but it will show up as that license number instead of the MIHGO2.
The firm MLS?
The agent MLS, well, that's the agent MLS code, so MYHDO2.
That's the office, I'm talking about the office.
Yeah.
Firm code.
Firm code's right in there.
It is now.
But it,
Maybe they fixed it, I don't know.
they might have fixed that, but you notice it had
The agent,
that
same one,
agent
right.
MLS, the second one was wrong.
Mine's not right on mine.
So it's definitely gonna take some tweaking to make it right in Arizona, so feel
They're gonna
free
fix
to.
it, but I'm just saying, if you do any contracts, just check that.
Yeah, check. Hopefully that helped a little bit, but the main thing to do is to encourage you to dive in, and when you're doing a deal that doesn't have to be presented in 3.5 minutes and you have a half hour to do a deal. If you are up against the gun, do it the way you know how and get it done. But don't wait till November, December, or you're
Show me the
gonna
little
be.
gray thing you did when that gray thing came up to the left.
Yeah.
Which great thing where?
MLS number.
To the left of the picture, and then a list of 4 things came down.
The little arrow.
It took me a long time before I decided to make attempt at it. I'm just gonna consent to it. But like you were saying,
That or the one up to the
all
right.
in every time, and I finally made that jump.
Those tables are easy.
It's changed like 5 things.
Yeah, if there's certain language you use on every contract in section 8 or whatever.
Is there a language I
You can always delete it.
That was a little helpful.
Thanks, Craig. That was very
Thank
helpful.
you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.